Hello, am I audible now? Hello, students. I hope I'm audible now. Just let me know if I'm audible and properly visible to everyone. If not, do let me know. Is my voice clear to everyone now? Yes, John. Is my voice clear? Okay, let's continue. If there is some issue, if any issue occurs, do let me know. Okay. So yes, as I was talking about English literature, I said that we are going to study English literature in this free crash course. This course is dedicated to UGC NET English, and we will be studying each and every part of English literature. For that matter, if you say cultural studies or literary criticism, literary theory, which students find most difficult, or not even difficult, but they think that it how to study, they exactly don't know how to study for these topics and from where to study for these topics. That is why this free crash course, in this free crash course, I'll be teaching you everything related to UGC NET English. Okay, so not everything basically, but most of the topics. However, let's see how it goes, and in 30 days how many topics we can cover. Okay. So yeah, if you think that this lecture series is not sufficient for you, we also have our batch going on. You can enroll in that batch as well. So the batch is starting from 28th of March. So you can enroll in that batch as well. Plus you can also go for free demo classes. So if you enroll in that from 28th of March, you will also be able to attend free lectures. So if you find it interesting, if you find it important, then only join for the classes. There is no hurry, there is no rush that you have to pay the payment, you have to do the payment first and then you have to join in our classes. No, you can first check and then you can also enroll in the class. Okay. So the price of this course is very minimum. You can see here it is only 5,000. Okay, and the course duration will be of 6 months. So you can enroll it today itself and you can do your preparation. So we are assuming that the exam might be on the 7th of in the last month of June. So you can wait till then and you can give your exams. You can study for all. Okay. You can yes, please also tell all your friends to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you will be notified as soon as any of our video comes. If we are coming up with any new lecture series or anything new which is going on our website, you will be able to get to know about it soon. Okay, so do enroll. Now we will talk about the, so first we will start with the British English, in which we will be talking about Old English and Middle English, because that was the beginning of whole English literature. So if you don't know about Old English and Middle English, then your whole whatever you are studying will not make any sense. So if you are studying for English literature, the very first thing you should know is about the Old English and Middle English, because that was the beginning, that was the start of English literature. From there itself we will be able to see the whole English literature in all. Okay, so that is the beginning. So first of all, in British literature, what we are going to study, and it started in the 500 AD to 1300 AD. Okay, so this was the age. In this we will see the introduction of Anglo-Saxon period, history about Old English, background about Old English, theme of the Old English, and style of the Old English. So let's understand this whole Old English one by one. So the Old English is first of all known as Anglo-Saxon. Okay, so why it is called as Anglo-Saxon? Because Anglo-Saxons were the dominant group. So people from so the people were Anglos, and the people were Saxons. Okay, and the Jutes. So these were the three German tribes. So where are these people came from? These people came from the Norman. I'm extremely sorry. These people are the Normans. Okay, so who came into Britain, who came into England. The name of Britain is England now. So they came to England, and they started making their literature famous. So they were the people who actually started writing about literature. Okay, so the culture where they were living, so there were these three peoples. Okay, the first one were the Germans, then French people, plus these Normans. Okay, so these were the people who actually started with the British literature. Okay, Anglo-Saxons were the people who came basically from Germany. So that is why these people came from Germany, they settled in England, and that is why they were called as Anglo-Saxons. Now they were also from the three tribes. We are going to understand them one by one. So here first of all you should know that dominant group was Anglo-Saxons. So for example, if you have seen, we also know Elizabethan age. Now what's the rule, or what's the main aim of Elizabethan age? That there was the time where Elizabeth was into ruling party, right? So she was the Queen of England. That is why the name of that age is given as by her name. Okay, so similarly here, who were the rulers, or not exactly rulers, but they were the dominant group in English literature. That is why the name is given to the age as Anglo-Saxon age. Okay, then Norman conquest happened. What was this Norman conquest? It happened in 1066 basically, and it was the army made of thousands of Normans. They came and they attacked there. Okay, so that was the Norman conquest. Then the Old English literature was started by Anglo-Saxons. Okay, and now as you all know, Anglo-Saxons were three Germanic tribes. Who are these three Germanic tribes? First one was Jutes, plus Anglos, and third one is Saxons. These were the three Germanic tribes. Okay, and these three tribes came into England, and Anglo-Saxons people did not believe in Christianity, or they basically did not believed in God. So they followed the pagan or Pagan religion. So this is another important thing you should know about Anglo-Saxons. Okay. So here, yes. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge all the comments which I missed. Yes, hello and very good afternoon, John. Good afternoon, Rohan. Hello, Pratiksha. Very good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Disha. Okay. So here as we were talking, who were the Anglo-Saxons? People did not believe in God. Okay, so or did not believe in God, or basically Christianity. Okay, rather they followed pagan religion. Okay, student, just give me a minute.
Hello.
Hello students, can you hear me properly? Just let me know if I am properly audible to everyone. If my voice is clear, just comment here so that I can continue with the lecture. I hope the voice is clear now. So let's continue. Yeah. So as I was saying that these were the people who were, one second. So these were the people who actually started the, or they believed in the pagan religion. Okay. And they did not believe in God. So then how this Christianity was spread? So Christianity was spread through Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine spread the Christianity, but he spread it in the 1600 or 597 year. Okay, so this was it. Now, what the second important thing we should know about Old or the Middle English is that the literary characteristics of that age. So the very first literary characteristic you should know is Old English language or the Anglo-Saxon is the foundation of English. So this age is the foundation of English. Okay. Second is Anglo-Saxon spoke combination of the old native Britain language plus the Germanic tribal language. So you will find, so when you are reading any of the English literature work which is based in the old or the middle English, you will find a very different dialect, okay, which is not seen in nowadays, because that is a combination of old native Britain language as well as the Germanic language, Germanic tribal language. So that is a combination of both. So you will find that. So the words such as thou, thee, these are the words, very old English words. And Germanic tribal language. Okay. So the next important literary characteristics you should know about this age is that songs and poetry was very important component of that age. And earlier it was orally, first of all, if you will see the works, they were oral. So that was, songs were more into practice. Later on, gradually they started writing into poetry. So you will not find very much of prose, any novel or anything in written. So mostly everything was oral. Later on, they also started writing poems, but you will not find prose in it. Okay, you will only find poetry in old and middle English. There were very few prose involved. Songs and poetry was very important though in those days. Okay. And earlier it was orally. Later in 1733 AD, it started in written form. Okay. So these are the literary characteristics. Now we will see few more literary characteristics of this age. That is, one of the most valued member of Anglo-Saxon society was the poet Scop, who discussed social and cultural values in his work. His name is Scop, who discussed social and cultural values in his work. Okay, so he was very famous. Then another important characteristic you will find is that in poetry, the British culture, they also used to talk German heroic past. Okay, so if you will see some of the important works of the old English literature, in old English literature, you will find that most of the poems, most of the songs are talked about these Germanic heroes, because obviously the people belonged to German. That is why they wanted to tell everyone about the great works done by the heroes in Germany itself, right? So that is why they more focused on the German heroic past or the patriotism that happened in Germany. They used German heroic past. So while writing poetry, they used either caesura or they used alliterative words, or they used caning. Let's understand each and every term separately. Okay, so caesura, it is basically having a break in the middle of the words. So caesura tells us, so when there are breaks in the middle of the works. Middle of the words. So they used either caesura or alliterative words. Alliterative words means this sound was repeated. So for example, the tongue twister, if you say, she sells she seashells on a seashore. So kind of, so your sound is repeated in the words, right? So or s is repeated in the words. So such kind of poetry was more into practice. Or caning. Caning is basically it is a literary device, which means that when we use compound words to denote something or describe something indirectly. Okay, so these are the compound words that will be used to so its literal meaning will be different and we will use it in some different context. Okay, so that will be considered into caning. So it's a literary device. Understood? And one more important thing that you should remember while studying Old English or Middle English literature, that is, Anglo-Saxons did not bring prose with them. Instead, they brought poetry. Okay, so this is one more thing you should remember. Then yes, another important thing, so before we discuss important works of Anglo-Saxon period, there is one more thing that you should remember, is that this was also asked in your exams. They talked about the abstract ideas. Now what are these abstract ideas? Abstract ideas means which is not which about which we don't know exactly. Okay, so for example, about love, about romance. So these are the concept which is not very clear, or about God, about any supernatural power. So we exactly don't know, or we don't even have any proof to prove that point. Okay, that is, which is not scientific, will be considered into abstract according to them. Okay, in the British literature. So you have to remember that as well, that they so in their poetry, apart from the heroic, what you will say, heroic past, they also talked about the abstract ideas, which is very important to know. Now there is one more question, or it was asked in previous year question paper, that if any old English poem, so this, remember this is a note that you have to remember. So if any old English poem is given or line from it is given, and you are asked to recognize a poem or recognize the poetic device of the poem, always remember it will be caesura, alliterative words, kenning, or strong stresses. Okay, remember this. So if the poem or the lines of the poem are from the Old English, so if the poem belongs to Old English era, then always remember that the poetic device will always be either alliteration, alliterative words, either caesura, either kenning, or the last one is or either strong stresses. Okay, so the answer will be only from these four options. Got it? So remember this. Now we will talk about the important works of Anglo-Saxon period. So there was poetry, that we already know, that the Germanic tribes or the Anglo-Saxons, they brought poetry with them. They did not bring prose with them. So we know that there was poetry which was famous. So when we are talking about the poetry, what you have to remember, that heroic poetry will be asked. There are three types of poetry: heroic poetry, lyric poetry, or Christian poetry. Okay, so here we have some comments from my students. They are saying, thank you so much John. And Disha is asking that एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन कैसे आते हैं मैम. तो बेसिकली दिशा, एग्जाम में जो आपको क्वेश्चंस पूछे जाते हैं वो सारे की सारे, जैसे मैंने ये सवाल आपको बताया ना, ये वाला, इफ एनी ओल्ड इंग्लिश पोएट्री इज गिवन और लाइन फ्रॉम दी पोएम इज गिवन, तो क्या आना चाहिए, सेस्यूरा से लेके ये इतना में से ही आपका आंसर होगा. इस टाइप के सवाल आपको एग्जाम में पूछे जाते हैं. ओके, क्लियर टू एवरीवन? किसी को कोई भी डाउट है from the topic which we have studied as of now? So as of now we will, so सबसे पहले हीरोइक पोएट्री देखते हैं. ओके, हीरोइक पोएट्री बहुत ही आसान काइंड ऑफ पोएट्री थी. सो इन हीरोइक पोएट्री द राइटर्स व्हाट दे डिड, दे यूज्ड टू बेसिकली राइट अबाउट द heroism that happened in the past. So for example, right now अगर आप महाराष्ट्र से belong करते हो, so you will find that there are so many works written on the historical events or on the historical figure शिवाजी महाराज, है ना. तो छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज. Similarly, if you go and if you will read old English, you will find most of the heroic past of the Germanic period. Okay, whatever, how they fought their wars, who were the kings, what they did, everything about them, you will find most of the relevant context there. Okay, so the very first heroic poetry is about Beowulf. The very first poem that you will read on heroic poetry is Beowulf. Your actual literature study starts from Beowulf. Okay, So, if you will see, Beowulf's author is unknown. We don't actually know who is the author of Beowulf. But this is the poem of, this poem is actually based on the young warrior who fights, and the whole poem is about the heroism and talks about heroicness. Okay, the poetic features that you will find here in this is alliterative words, the strong stresses. Okay, so we will write all these things. We don't know the author, unknown author, but this is about the young warrior. Okay, then it talks about heroism. Then poetic features. Which are the poetic features? Alliterative words, and strong stresses. Okay, these are the important. Then there is one more, there is an essay. Okay, so Giara Tolkien wrote an essay called On Translating Beowulf. Now he translated Beowulf. So who was the key figure here? Giara Tolkien. And what did he do? He wrote an essay called On Translating Beowulf. Okay, this is a very famous work. You can read it whenever you will get find time. Okay, the next important work you will find is Walder. What is Walder? So this is basically the legend of Walter of Aquitaine. So it's okay even if you don't remember it. Then third one is Fight at Finnsburg. So in Fight at Finnsburg, you will also find that there was an attack. Okay, so where Neif and 60 people hold attackers. Okay, so this is about the fight at Finnsburg. So this is also very famous heroic poetry. This is also a very important poem that you should know when you are studying for Old English literature. Next is Whitsmith. Whitsitt, sorry. So it's basically a survey of heroes and people in Europe. Survey of heroes. People in Europe. Okay. So now also remember in Beowulf accuses Unferth of killing his own Keith and kin, okay, and unchecked atrocity. So this is also important note that you should remember. We will just write it down. Beowulf. Enfeth of killing his own kith and kin. Okay, and unchecked atrocity. So this is also very important that you should remember while you are studying for Beowulf. Okay. Then we again now we have to talk about the lyric poetry. So while we talk about lyric poetry, you should remember the very famous work that is Wanderer. It is a lyric poetry. Now, what is a lyric poetry? Which has rhyme or which is more focused on the words. So the first one is Wanderer. What is in Wanderer? It is the story of old man who talks about attack he faced. In this, old man talks about attack he faced. Second important poem is Seafarer. Seafarer, who is a seafarer? So seafarer is a person who goes on a voyage. Okay, so that the person is called as seafarer. Okay, so this describes the desolate hardship of a wintry sea. So seafarer is a person who goes on a voyage and he talks about the condition, the cold and the solitude he faces on that voyage. It was translated by Ezra Pound. So this is again a very important work by Ezra Pound. Okay. By Ezra Pound. Remember this. Then another important lyric poetry is Wise Lament. Wise Lament is also very famous. So this talks about the state of despair. Then the next is Deor's Lament. Lament, you already know, it's a sad poem. And the another important is Husband's Message. What is there in this particular poem in Husband's Message? So here the husband is on the war, and this whole so he sends a message to his wife from the war place. So that is the whole poem is all about. Okay, and explores his love towards his wife. So this is the message by who you can say a soldier tells everything, and he expresses his love towards his wife in this poem. Okay, so let's stop for now here. We will discuss the further part in tomorrow's session. So please be present tomorrow at 3 p.m. only on IFAS UGC Net channel, and also tell all your friends to join in so that they won't miss their preparations. Okay, so till the time we meet next, happy learning.